The weird, the whacked out, or the real deal? Hello, today we are bringing you a video solely around this particular book that we found in the public domain, public access, titled The Secret History of the World and How to Get Out Alive by Laura Knight-Jadczyk. Hopefully we pronounced that properly. Forgive us if we haven't. And it has some information underneath which reads, if you heard the truth, would you believe it? Ancient civilizations, hyperdimensional realities, DNA changes, Bible conspiracies. What are the realities? What is disinformation? The Secret History of the World and How to Get Out Alive is a definitive book of the real answers where truth is more fantastic than fiction. Laura Knight-Jadczyk, wife of internationally known theoretical physicist Arkadiusz Jadczyk, an expert in hyperdimensional physics, draws on science and mysticism to pierce the veil of reality. Due to the many threats on her life from agents and agencies known and unknown, Laura left the United States to live in France, where she is working closely with Patrick Rivière, student of Eugene Canseliet, the only disciple of the legendary alchemist Fulcanelli. To this day, Laura continues to undergo ad hominem attacks on her web pages, her blog, and even as faux book reviews on bookseller websites by those threatened by the information she reveals in this definitive work. Yet, with sparkling humour and wisdom, she picks up where Fulcanelli left off, sharing over 30 years of research to reveal for the first time the great work and the esoteric science of the ancients in terms accessible to scholar and layperson alike. But we need to know more about this particular lady, Laura Knight-Jadczyk, so we went online to find out more about her. And she's possibly been interviewed here. Question: there is so much disinformation, you just don't know who to believe. I mean, how do we know we can believe you? There are so many sources out there deceiving, and they do it so cleverly. Look at the Bible. For 2,000 years people have been believing that. Her answer: they deceive when you allow it. Laura Knight-Jadczyk, 1952, hereafter referred to as LKJ, is an American pseudo-historian, so she's claiming to have done historical research, or she's posing as a historian when she really isn't qualified. So her peers, experts in that field, say, well, she's not a historian, she's a wannabe, she's claiming to be when she actually isn't recognised as one. And a unified conspiracy theorist, so she's probably part of a group of many who get into these conspiracy theories. And there was a list over here somewhere, and it had like those who wake people up, like Mel Gibson, David Icke, and so forth. But perhaps mainly known for her channeling of the Cassiopeians, she uses Ouija board, etc., to talk to these aliens, etc. Through her, they pass messages on in the fake news platform site.net. And we will have a look at that for a certain reason, or different reasons, in a few minutes. A self-styled scientific mystic and paleo-Christian shaman, Christianity is a little organised religion she had founded as a personal cult. Her websites and ventures in alternative media publishing and other things have branched out over the years of her Cassiopeian channeling and inspired research, but her audience remains much smaller than, for example, that of David Icke or Icke. Since 2003, she has lived in France together with part of her inner circle. Earlier in life, as LKJ relates in her books, she was a Christian fundamentalist. Her mystical experiences and intellectual interests put her at odds with the dogma, the doctrines of the day, of the church leaders, the church authorities, etc., leading her first to grow beyond her old mental prison and thereafter to construct a new one. Her New Age conspiracist teaching essentially ended up reinventing the fundamentalist mentality on a wordier and more complex pseudo-scientific foundation. So it's supposedly scientific-based, science-based, etc., but again, those who are experts in the field of science, the scientists say, nah, it's not. It's just a presumed or half-truth or even erroneous or fake brand of science. Original sin became recast as prehistoric fall of humanity into being beholden to evil, paranormal aliens, so they are to blame for our sins, the evils, etc., as the energy food source. So we're supposedly their dinner, okay? Their lunch, their breakfast, their lunch, and their dinner, and their midnight snack. And more importantly, nearly all the world's population is said to face ultimate damnation and destruction in the form of soul smashing. Only a small spiritual elite surviving, redeemed through very great and extremely difficult work under LKJ's guidance. Of course, it sounds like Charles Manson, who claimed that he was going to lead the American Negroes, the Africans, etc., in racial war against Whitey, etc. These are his words, not ours, and all this sort of stuff didn't happen. Central to LKJ's overall style is wide-ranging associations and juxtapositions, supposedly in support of her conclusions. She has read widely and draws upon tens of thousands of books in ways that often mainly distract from the unreasonableness and incoherence of the central message, and with the attitude that critics are wrong because they haven't speed read as much as she has. While she may sometimes seem to have never met a piece of pseudoscience she didn't like, she argues as much against those with differing unconventional views as she does those with conventional ones. Politically, in earlier years, she often played the role of referring Moonbat. What the heck is a Moonbat? We have no idea. Maybe it's a wacko. Not really sure. It's up in the clouds or something. Part excellence. While in later years that excellence of hers has gradually been shifted towards alt-right wingnuttery. Her online following tagging along for the journey. Whatever the area of conspiracy or spirituality or fringe thought in general, LKJ, and no, that's not Linton Kwesi Johnson, tends to keep herself and her community in the role of a uniquely valuable lone lighthouse, shining a light into a world of darkness and doom through the simple strategy of always having their own incompatible take on polarizing ideas of the day. Cassiopeans. She believes the Cassiopeans are apparently some sort of psychic aliens that communicate with humans via, of course, channeling. And there's a question here posed to her: who or what are the men in black? And she replies, lizard projections. Okay, the Cassiopeans are apparently some sort of psychic aliens that communicate with humans via, of course, channeling. Specifically, Laura Knight-Jadczyk uses an Ouija board to receive messages from them. They may or not be planning on eating us, with their breakfast, lunch and dinner, depending on who you ask. Though according to LKJ, they are not only nothing sinister, but even herself in the future, and if you take them at their word, are basically perfect angels. More peace and loving focused new ages, like those who prefer the older and more hippie flavoured Ra material or Law of One from the 1980s that the Cassiopeans claim come from the same source as them, tend to view the Cassiopeans with suspicion. The Cassiopeans also claim that Barbara Masoniacs, Pleiadians and some other channel beings are the same type of being as them, while most prominently borrowing metaphysics from Ra. Okay, we were reminded that we did a poem years ago. We should have wrote it down and kept it in a book. Well, we thought we did, but obviously we didn't. We put it on poetry.com, we believe. Something like along the lines like, we're sitting on a bus, people look like us, but really there's some sort of alien that wants to eat us, right? All this sort of stuff. And apparently the character in it goes to the McDonald's. He's sitting down, he's eating lots and lots and lots of meals, McDonald's style meals, and just can't seem to get full, even though he's got drinks and all that sort of stuff as well. Just can't seem to get full. He's just never satisfied, right? Or feel full. So he goes back up, and he suddenly realises when he tries again and he's still not full, he spent about a couple of $100 or more trying to get full, that because maybe he saw the eyes of this person at the counter change, okay, I see those YouTube videos, look, it's Miley Cyrus's eyes have changed and she's a lizard or whatever, that sort of thing. And he had this menacing grin on him, and he's like, telepathically saying to this person, yeah, you keep eating, because our whole plan, our hidden agenda, is to fatten you all up like cattle, and then we'll all invade and eat all of you, gobble you all up. It's coincidence that she's written something like that, and we've never contacted or did Ouija board or met up with Cassiopeans. The Cassiopeans have given LKJ's main website, the Cassiopean Experiment, its name. The experiment amounts to LKJ reading books, asking the Cassiopeans questions, writing about her many mental associations between things, and developing spiritual and conspiratorial ideas, etc., etc. According to LKJ, her project is the home of the most dangerous idea in the world, the idea that's not absolutely allowed, like certain parties don't want awareness of it to spread. When others disagree with her, things can get heated, and much drama involving other fringe figures has ensued over the years. As tribalism grew in her community, there came a point when she founded a religion as its inner circle, ostensibly to use the legal structure of the sinister lay as protection against them. Maybe it's all really an experiment in creating a cult around a channeled source, or rather, the channeler, which the channeled source claims to be very special indeed. Excuse us, just have a drink of water because Kermit the Frog just jumped at our throat and a bit croaky. The terrible threat. Regardless of whether or not the Cassiopeans want to eat you, there are others who certainly do. Going by the first published Cassiopean session from 1994, the evil aliens working with the secret government was to have consumed 94% of humanity by around the year 2007. However, nearly all of humanity being eaten is only part of the terrible secret of what's coming. The 1994 claims also included that 3 gigantic ships, each carrying 12 million Nephilim, in this case to be pictured as giant humanoid aliens armed with stun guns and ready to serve as enforcers for the new lizard world order, were on their way from Orion. Okay, they're taking a hell of a long time, aren't they? Those reptilians and also the grey alien puppets in turn are said to be part of an Orion empire, also including bad Nordic human-looking aliens who are further up in the hierarchy. Orion are also the main bad guys in the Ra material, but the Cassiopeans offer different details and also include good Orion forces. They even claim at one point to be Orion themselves, and so forth. The demon-like pseudo-physical high-tech paranormal aliens are said to not only abduct people, but to alter timelines, rewriting history as part of the general quest of consuming as much and as many as they can in one way or another. So they're hungry, they're going to gobble a big percentage of human beings up on the planet. But these aliens have not shown up in force as years have passed by, and so, understandably, emphasis has shifted away from that topic over time. By 2010, focus had in large part moved to the idea of psychopaths in and out of power being in control of our world on behalf of these aliens. So what, they're the ones eating everybody? Okay, and it says here, who will be eaten first? July 16th, 1994. And she claims that humans are eaten or consumed and they're useful parts. We don't understand. How can humans be useful parts? Re-prototype. The vats exist. Missing persons often go there, and especially missing children. Okay, that's her claims. In case you find this or any other type of information upsetting, as LKJ herself apparently did, it may also be interesting to consider the following. And for those taking the red pill and waking up to the real matrix reality described by LKJ et al., it's basically what the entrance to the great rabbit hole of Cassiopean psycho-spirituality has long looked like. Question, did aliens do anything to create emotional turmoil here? A, they always do. As the channel source likes to repeat, knowledge protects, ignorance endangers. Apparently the information it offers magically protects against all the terrible things it tells you about, even when there is no possibility of acting concretely on the information. However, it isn't clear just how much more knowledge of this kind is needed to become truly safe. And there's more here. And this is why she got flack on her website, apparently, in her forum, with these wacky claims. We have been there and had a look at it, and guess what we found? Okay, here's the particular website. Done all these different discussion topics. Okay, it's not this one, it must be the next one. Okay, nothing there. So we went to the SOT forum or the SOT webpage. That's probably where it is. And there's a claim here: as Christians mark another winter solstice by celebrating the coincident anniversary of the birth of Jesus Christ, a name that has loomed over Western civilization for some 2,000 years, we're talking about the opportunity to talk once again with author and historian Laura Knight-Jadczyk about her latest research. Despite much scholarly research already providing grounds for doubting the historical accuracy of Jesus, most assume that this figure nevertheless had at least some historical basis in fact. Fundamental to this is the pairing of Roman historical data with key elements of the Jesus story. And she believes she has found conclusive evidence that there was no Jesus, and that the figure we know by this name is a composite of different narratives woven together to create a new religion. But if there was no Jesus, why and how can there be today three major world religions based or reliant on one? And there's a transcript of the show. It's quite extensive. And at the very bottom here, when we get to it, let's go right down to the bottom. There's no reader comments, no comments, and there's supposed to be all these comments of dislike, hatred, etc. thrown at her. We have not found them on that particular website. There's a statement here, comments here that she got a lot of flack through forums, haters, etc. at that particular website. An alternative fake news website, Signs of the Times, also referred to as SOT, SOT.net, or the World for People Who Think, mainly aggregates stories from other sources, but also makes some articles, videos, podcasts, etc. of their own. Things from elsewhere may be truthified by adding biased comments. SOT has grown from a smaller blogging project by Knight-Jadczyk alone in 2002 to a fringe news site staffed by volunteers, part of the online community or cult. Compared to the SOT/Cassiopeia forum and the Cassiopeia site, the SOT site represents a more normal looking side of the community and its works. It could be a different website or something deeper we haven't come across yet, but she got a lot of flack from commenters. people commenting there. Okay, we're going to have a look at her book, The Secret History of the World and How to Get Out Alive, to see what she goes on about. At this point we're thinking she's wacky. Okay, she got all angry with this particular website, Rational Wiki, over what they said about her. They poked the finger at her, criticised her harshly, so she got really upset over them doing that. And here's the table of contents. Prefaced by Patrick Rivière. He was the last surviving student of some other guy who's the last surviving student of Fulcanelli. Patrick Rivière is a writer and author of numerous works that have been published in France and that have been translated and published in many languages. He is a specialist on the Grail, on the paths of the Grail and of alchemy, following the path of Fulcanelli, Fulcanelli Revealed, two works soon to be published, or that were published by Red Pill Press. Note to the reader about the Cassiopeans. The term Cassiopean appears in several places in this book. While the information contained in this book could as well be given without referring to this term, it is better to point out the source of the inspiration. The name Cassiopeia was given by a source contacted by RKJ in 1994 after a 2-year-long experiment in superluminal communication. The source identified itself by saying, "We are you in the future." Modern physics does not provide us with practical means for this type of communication, and theories on the subject are not well developed. They are in fact inconclusive and controversial. And there's more there, written by her and her husband, who has a PhD. Note to the, oh, we just did that. Notes to the Cassiopean, to read about the Cassiopeians. And she goes on about how she had children, and being a mother she wanted to teach them the truth, tell them the truth. She didn't want to tell them lies, or this sort of thing. She states she suspected something was wrong with the facts of life as they were presented to her when she was a kid. Sure, she then spent a little over 30 years trying to be normal and make that square peg fit the round hole, looking for a reason to believe. But then there was a memorable day when she finally grew up and admitted that maybe, just maybe, the emperor was naked. And here it is over 20 years later, and now, well, she knows that not only is something rotten in Denmark. At that time, she just knew there was a dead elephant in the middle of the collective global living room, and she could never not see it again. During that 20 plus years of uncovering that huge dead critter that occupies a central place in our reality, she was driven by the idea that she just wanted to know what was really going on in the strange world she lived in, where on the one hand science was moving so fast that you would soon be able to destroy, that all of us would soon be able to destroy our planet, while on the other hand the varied religions were telling us not to worry. God was probably going to destroy it for us, and we had better believe in the right God or we were toast. How can a person live in a world where the end of the world is being predicted every minute? That's crazy. But darn it, that isn't what just about every religion on the planet talks about. You go to church, get scared to death in an hour and a half, warned about hellfire and damnation, then they pass the plate so that you can pay the high priest to put in a good word for you with God, so that maybe you won't suffer as much as that jerk down the street who goes to a different church. And even if you do suffer here on earth, if you believe hard enough and prove it by putting your money where your faith is, at least you'll get your reward in paradise. This was back in 1982 when she had 3 small children. As a mother, she wanted to know what to teach her children. She knew that what she had been taught to believe was frightening. She had grown up in a time when children were regularly taught what to do in case of an atomic bomb attack. Cuba was only 90 miles from Florida, where she was born, and at the same time the standard religious teaching of her family, mainstream Protestants, promoted the suffer on earth to get rewarded in heaven routine. She knew she had certainly suffered from the state of the world and the teachings of her faith. She really, really wanted to know if this was something that she should pass on to her children. When she held her babies and rocked them or looked into their sweet innocent faces, untroubled by the concerns of the world around, certain that mother would make them safe, she had to ask herself, how can I tell them these things? How can I break it to them? That this world into which we have been born is so frightening and uncertain and full of traps that not only are their lives in constant danger, their very souls may be in peril. How could she tell that to her children? If it was true, she had to tell them. But what if it wasn't true? What if it wasn't true? She knew one thing and one thing only. She wanted more than anything in the world to tell her children the truth, to prepare them for whatever might lie ahead of them in their lives. And the question burned inside her. What if she told those little beings who she loved more than her own life a lie? What kind of a mother would she be? What kind of mother love is that? The end of the world is an idea which has fascinated man for all recorded history and perhaps beyond. In every religion, philosophy and mystery teaching, there are hints, allusions or outright claims to knowledge of this purported end to man's current status on the earth. Some teachings say that the earth itself will cease to exist. Others proclaim that man will cease to exist in material form. Still others claim a great judgment day in which the wicked are wiped from the face of the planet while the saved are rescued in some miraculous fashion to return and inhabit a new heaven-like city of God. The persistence of these ideas and their prevalence is centered around the idea that man began somewhere, sometime, somehow, and will therefore come to an end somewhere, sometime, somehow. This assumption is born of the conscious mind's tendency to think in linear terms. Scientific materialism has carried this tendency to the ultimate heights. The world must have been born, therefore it must die. Also, scientific materialism claims nothingness before birth and nothingness after death. Scientific philosophies refer to the accidental mechanicalness of the universe and teach us that the only meaning to life is no meaning at all. Eat, drink and be merry, for tomorrow you may die, and then oblivion. Scientifically speaking, for a long time matter and motion were accepted as a basis of reality, and to a great extent continue to be. Yet in actual fact matter and motion are unknown quantities, x and y, and are always defined by means of one another. It is an absurdity to find one unknown by means of another. What this means is that science defines matter as that which moves, and defines motion as changes in matter. The Big Bang or cosmic firecracker theory is explained in these terms. A primal atom, matter, of incredible density, exploded into motion. Where the primal atom came from, how the space it exploded into came into being, and where the impetus for this event originated are still on the drawing board. And from this event, our universe and the life within it just sort of accidentally happened. Man is the immoral end of a deadly biological evolution. The mind and soul are inexplicable byproducts of the struggle for survival. To the average person, a table, a chair, an orange is a real object. They have dimension, 3 to be exact. They are real. But are they? The physicist and the knowledgeable layperson knows that the object is composed of atoms, and there lies the rub. The dissected atom, quantum particles, often displays some very disturbing properties. Who has really seen matter or force? We think we see matter in motion, but physics has shown us that what we see is an illusion. When we try to focus on it, a quantum particle / wave is an infinite dimensional entity incapable of being perceived in that instant as a 3-dimensional body moving through space. When we look away, the quantum particle / wave acts like a wave of pure energy, invisible forces. So just what is matter? She goes on to explain that. In other words, okay, where is it? She says there was a possibility, just a suggestion, mind you, that human beings might be able to choose something different than a future that was obviously developing all around us. It was clear to her that such a choice could only be made if one made an effort to predict the future. In other words, the only way to know the right choice of the moment was to have some idea of the consequences, or the outcomes. Of course, the standard religions all around us are suggesting something of that sort all the time. The solution is that the only change human beings can make is to choose the right God and believe in Him strongly enough that this God will step in and fix things right up, either by miraculously intervening in reality or at least hauling the good people out of the soup at some future time when they have proved themselves, and at the same time making all those nasty people who bet on the wrong horse suffer. It was at this point that she decided that she really ought to check out all the various religions and their track records, so to say, in order to determine which was the right God. After all, since there exists such diversity of beliefs around the globe, the assumption is that either somebody is right, excluding all others, or that nobody is right, including all. With the world in an obvious mess, with every preacher in just about every church across America passionately declaring that the end is nigh, she decided that she had better get moving on this project. After all, she had these small beings that, or more small beings in her care, and above all things, she wanted to tell her children the truth as far as she was able to determine it. And that certainly meant that she should put forth all efforts to determine what the truth was before she gave it to them. After all, if your child asks for bread, will you give him a stone? If he asks for fish, will you give him a serpent? She wanted to give her children the very best she could, and that was, at the foundation, the primary motivation for her search for the truth: love for her children. You could say that love for her babies gave her the courage to begin to look at her own faith in a critical way, and then to search for the answers to their questions. And so it still is to this very day. And it's like an interview of her and all her beliefs to follow. All her statements of her beliefs. And she talks about science, gives some pointers in regards to that. And her final statement: you never know how much you really believe anything until its truth or falsehood becomes a matter of life and death. It is easy to say you believe a rope is strong as long as you are merely using it to cord a box. But suppose you had to hang by that rope over a precipice or edge of a cliff, right? Wouldn't you then first discover how much you really trusted it? And that's a quote by C.S. Lewis, apparently. Introduction, laying the groundwork. And she states that her book, Conscious Acts of Creation, tells us this book marks a sharp dividing line between old ways of scientific thought and old experimental protocols wherein human qualities of consciousness, intention, emotion, mind and spirit cannot significantly affect physical reality, and a new paradigm wherein they can robustly do so. And she goes on about a book written by three mainstream scientists, which tells you utilizing a unique experimental protocol on both inanimate and animate systems, that the human quality of focus and attention can be made to act as a true thermodynamic potential and strongly influence experimental measurements for a variety of specific target experiments, and so forth. and the Scam of Distraction. In 1931, Aldous Huxley wrote Brave New World, in which he stated, "The older dictators fell because they could never supply their subjects with enough bread, enough circuses, enough miracles and mysteries, nor did they possess a really effective system of mind manipulation. Under a scientific dictator, education will really work, with the result that most men and women will grow up to love their servitude and will never dream of revolution." So they'll be willingly giving their services to their masters, and they won't rebel against them, rise up against them. There seems to be no good reason why a thoroughly scientific dictatorship should ever be overthrown. But Aldous Huxley also made an earlier connection between the effects experienced by those partaking of psychedelic drugs and the experiences of Eastern mysticism, and this set the consciousness-raising bomb off with a bang. Along came Timothy Leary and Richard Alpert, aka Baba Ram Dass, with the LSD and other modes of mind marvels, leading the parade of those who were tuned in. Abraham Maslow became a father figure to the new wave of those designed to fill the gaping hole of their reality with peak experiences. Maslow cited psychedelic drugs as one of the means in which even ordinary people could have a little of what the Eastern mystics worked many years to develop. Now, it could be had for a weekend seminar at Big Sur, or a study by mail course at only $29.95 per lesson. What a deal. Peak experience became the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow of the 1960s. No one needed to live in existential despair any longer. Everyone could become a spiritual voyager and achieve extended periods in realms of consciousness they had only heard about in veiled, mysterious illusions down through the ages, and so forth. By the end of the decade of the 60s, the human potential movement had become a veritable potpourri of religion, science, mysticism, magic, and the occult. The drug use got out of hand. The techniques began to show serious flaws, with a number of tragedies resulting in crime or madness, and the whole idea of human beings becoming psychic supermen hit the skids. The promise of the 60s decayed into an aimless lethargy, old hippies living in communes, braiding their grey locks and lusting after the sweet young teeny boppers, while they fired up another bong and reminisced about the good old days at Easterling. But wait, something else happened here. Remember, this is America, the home of the free market, that is. Many people suggest that subsequent proliferation of the New Age consciousness-raising movement was the result of big business seeing a pile of money to be made in the development of slick, newly packaged psychoanalysis and psychodrama. There was indeed mass distribution and Madison Avenue marketing of things like mind dynamics, Erica Silver mind control, transcendental meditation, and on. Individual entrepreneurs knew a good thing when they saw it. However, there is more to this than meets the eye. This is important to our subject, so she asks readers to bear with her. And she goes on about the arrival of UFOs and COINTELPRO. Richard Dolan's UFOs and the National Security State is the first comprehensive study of the past 50 years of the US government's response to the intrusion of UFO phenomena in America. The compiled evidence, which includes government documents, suggests that a group of specialists working in the shadows set up and executed the most massive cover-up in the history of government, and that the human potential movement and the subsequent New Age movements were key elements of this cover-up. In other words, they not only have used the colourful community of alternative ideas as an unwitting tool of disinformation, it is highly probable that most of it was literally created by them as COINTELPRO. According to analysts, COINTELPRO was the FBI's secret program to undermine the popular upsurge, which swept the country during the 1960s. Although the name stands for Counterintelligence Program, the targets were not enemy spies. The FBI set out to eliminate radical political opposition inside the US. So were they responsible for the shutdown of the Black Panthers, etc.? What a lot of people do not realize is that this was a high-level psychological operation specifically set up to vector ideological trends, beliefs, etc., to get a complete picture of the problem. Richard Dolan writes, the UFO problem has involved military personnel around the world for more than 50 years and is wrapped in secrecy. Because this subject is so widely ridiculed, it is important to stress why it is worthy of serious attention. Stories of strange objects in the sky go far back into time, but the problem received little attention until the Second World War. During the UFO wave of 1947, American military and intelligence organizations conducted multiple simultaneous investigations of these sightings. By the end of 1947, a contingent of analysts at the Air Technical Intelligence Center at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base believed that UFOs were extraterrestrial. By the summer of 1948, this team prepared an estimate of the situation. As the story goes, Air Force Commander Hoyt Vandenberg rejected this conclusion. In the summer of 1952, UFO sightings were so frequent and often of such high quality that some in the Air Force actually wondered whether an invasion was underway. With some help from the secret CIA-sponsored Robertson panel of January 1953, the Air Force improved censorship over the problem. Still, it never quite went away. Civilian organizations began to collect and analyze interesting UFO reports. There came the great UFO waves of 1965 and 1966, when the Air Force could no longer hide behind weather balloons and swamp gas, nor withstand public scrutiny, and so forth. And it goes further into COINTELPRO and what they were all about and what they got up to. Okay, so that's her book in short and not in total, because it's a massive book, which if you wanted to you could read yourself. We can leave the link to it below this video if you wanted to do that. It'll take you a while, but there's a lot of supposed truth there. And then you can decide whether, in the first few chapters, whether she was weird, whacked out, or she's the real deal. Who but yourself can decide that? If you like this video, then give us a thumbs up and add your comments below, and share this video with everyone you know. Could be a great party discussion, get together discussion, something different. These people that provide these sort of books and this sort of information through channeling, etc., are they weird, whacked out, did a bit too much drugs in their lifetime or something, or are they the real deal? Or are they like influenced by demonic forces and all that sort of stuff, as the religious factions will tell you, Christians, etc. Okay, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel. If you like this video, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, add your comments below, and then share this with all your family and friends who are into these so-said conspiracy theories, UFO, extraterrestrial claims, and so forth.